welcome, it's Matt here. We're going to learn my favourite setup fill here. Now you just heard me do a few setup fills there. So my question to you is, do you know which is my favourite? Alright, so a setup fill is basically when you've got a band figure or an ensemble hit or an ensemble stab or whatever you want to call it. Basically, there's a big note that the other instruments in the band are playing. You do a fill to set it up. So rather than that big hit just coming out of nowhere and taking everyone by surprise, the drummer will do a fill of some sort, often quite short, to just build up to it, set it up. Literally, that's what it is. So I did ask if you knew which was my favourite one out of the ones I was doing at the beginning. This is my favourite. All right, so it's my favourite because it just works. And you hear this is probably the most common setup fill there is. You hear it from, I heard it first from big band music, because you're going to get lots of big ensemble hits there where all the brass are doing those big notes. The drummer, he'll set it up with that fill. You also hear it of rock, John Bonham style stuff, he uses that kind of fill. You can hear it in all styles of music and it works really well. Sets up the hit really well. Also, you can just use this as a fill. You don't need to set up an ensemble hit. It just sounds pretty cool as a fill. So, let's get started. Before we do, I'm going to tell you, in the link below, you can get the sheet music for free and you can get that drumless track. You heard me playing along with it at the beginning. You can get that to practice along with it. So click the link below to go and grab all of that and let's do this lesson. All right, so if you've got the sheet music, you can see there in the first figure, we've got a few notes. And I'm just going to walk you through the timing, the count of this rhythm. So we've got an 8th note, then a 16th note triplet. So we count as 1 and triplet. So that's the first 4 notes. 1 and triplet. Then we're going to end it on 2. 1 and triplet 2. Boom, ba 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 boom. That's the rhythm, all right? So I would get used to just clapping it first, counting it and playing it. 1 and triplet 2. 1 and triplet 2. Once you're comfortable with the rhythm, we've got to look at how we're orchestrating it around the kit. You can do whatever you want, right? But I'm going to show you a really common way. So let's just take it in a few little sections. So the first note is a snare drum. So just hit that standalone snare drum. Then we come to the triplet figure. This is where we're going to go snare, high tom, floor tom. So you're going to go right hand on the snare, left hand on the high tom, and then right hand on the floor tom. And then we're going to finally hit the bass drum for beat 2. So you go 1 and triplet 2, snare, snare, high tom, floor tom, bass. Check it out on the drum kit. Okay, as we move down to the second line, we're going to just start to put this in the position of the bar that you would use it. So it's the exact same fill, but you can see you've got a quarter note rest on beat 1 and beat 2. So we're going to do nothing for 1 and 2. So we go 1, 2, then on beat 3, we'll start the fill that you just learned. So we go 1, 2, 3, and triplet 4. So it's 1, 2, 3, and triplet 4. Okay, so it's just a different position within the bar. However, if you're paying close attention, you've noticed there's an extra note on the end of that as well. So that's on the 4 and we're going to do a second bass drum there with a crash cymbal. So the whole thing then would count 1, 2, 3, and triplet 4, and on that and is your bass and crash. So one more time with the rhythm. 1, 2, 3, and triplet 4, and. Okay, so now to bring this into a bit of a musical kind of context with a groove, we're going to do exactly the same thing you just did, but on beats 1 and 2 where we were just counting a rest, we're now just going to play an 8-beat. So you're going to be like, boom, tss, 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 sugar da boom, ba. So the count 1 and 2 and 3 and triplet 4 and. All right, you're basically there. This is an easy thing. It's not a difficult thing. But now we're going to put it into a 2-bar loop because you know how we were doing that crash on the and? That gives us what we sometimes call a pushed crash. So whereas you normally do a drum fill and then you do the crash on beat 1 to come back to your groove, that's the normal thing. We're giving that kind of pushed fill by bringing the crash back to the 4 and of the previous bar. So we're doing that crash early. So we'd normally do it here on beat 1, but we're going to do it a bit early on the 4 and. Okay? So to make that work, where we would normally have the crash on beat 1 of the next bar, we're just going to leave a gap. So that's what you got here. So we're going, the first bar is the one you just did. So we go 1 and 2 and 3 and triplet 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So the second bar is your normal 8-beat groove, like the easiest beat you know, but where we would normally play a bass drum and a hi-hat on the first beat, we're just going to leave a gap and we're going to come back in on the and. So the second bar goes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we're just leaving that hole on the first beat, that's all. So to count it one more time before I show you on the drum kit, 1 and 2 and 3 and triplet 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so that's how it works. So once you can play a beat before the setup fill and you can come back into the beat after it, you've got the full loop. So you can now choose to add that setup fill wherever you need to in the bar. Now in this case, we were setting up the note, the hit would be on the 4 and. So it's where that crash and bass drum came in, like 1, 2, 3, 4, bam! That's where everyone's hitting a big note. So we're setting up that big note and then we're hitting the big note with the crash. So we're going to accent the big note with the band, but the setup fill comes before it. Now your setup, your big note that you're setting up might be somewhere else in the bar. So all you have to do is just shift everything forward or back wherever it is so that the setup fill starts before it and you're ready to set up and end right on that hit. Now that can take some practice. So, you could practice that setup fill now and try and figure it out. If you want to get sheet music out to write it out, you can just basically copy and paste what I've given you in the sheet music here and just kind of write it out and try doing it with the crash on beat 4, on 3 and, on 3, on 2 and so on. So you can put the crash anywhere in that bar and you know where to start the setup fill before it to lead into it. And that gives you total freedom then, because no matter where the note is that you're setting up, you know where to start your fill. And after a while, you'll just feel it, and you can go beyond this and just start improvising as well, just come up with all sorts of different setup fills, which is kind of what you heard me doing a bit with the music at the beginning. I don't have to think too much about the fill because I've practiced this type of thing, so I just know where the end point is, which is the note. In this case, it's on the 4 and I can just start wherever I want really. You could do a really short setup fill or you could make a longer one. As long as you know where to end, doesn't matter necessarily where you start. Anyway, that's it. Remember, in the link below, you can get the sheet music for free and you can access the track for free so you can practice it along with music and have fun with it. I hope you enjoyed that and I'll see you next time. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed that lesson. Please hit subscribe so you get notified when new lessons come out. And also, check out this other video I'm showing you if you want to learn more on the drums.